Function with Purpose Podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Welcome to Season 10, Episode 3 of the Function with Purpose podcast. Thank you for joining in. This is Dr. Amy with you guys today, whether it's the morning, afternoon, evening. Thanks for joining. I greatly appreciate it. Oh, gosh. Okay. This is a very, very much needed topic that needs to gain more and more clarity, because I guess a good term would be muddy waters, right? It's already muddy water to begin with. And I'm hoping that I can come across to you, the listener, and maybe you can spill this onto your friends, families, significant others, that as the public perceives this is all wrong. So the title, why your health insurance doesn't work for your health. Health insurance. The majority of us in the United States of America have health insurance, right? Some examples of health insurance is Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna, Humana, Medicare, just some to name the few, AARP, which is an extension of Medicare, Medicaid, health insurance. But when you really think about it, I think the term health insurance should actually be corrected to sickness insurance. Why? So the point of sickness insurance, which is what I'm going to refer what health insurance should be termed. So anytime you hear sickness insurance, that's what I'm referring to in this podcast. So sickness insurance, i.e. health insurance, is actually there in place to take on risk when an emergency happens, which commonly leads to an individual in a medical situation. So they enter the medical system. So a prime example would be a heart attack, right? That is a medical issue. That is an emergency issue. This person has to go to the hospital or the medical system. They need to enter that system, utilize their sickness insurance in order to mitigate the risk of, ultimately, we are all going to face it, unfortunately, death, right? So sickness insurance is there to take on risk when an emergency happens. So that's when an individual enters the medical system. So a very, very common question when people inquire to get physical therapy services from me through Fortress Physical Therapy, hands down the number one question, do you take insurance? Do you take health insurance? When they really mean sickness insurance. No, I don't. Why? Because I am not a part of the medical system. Seeking physiotherapy services, typically, or at least how my clinic is set up, I'm not affiliated with a medical system. It's not an emergency to receive physical therapy, right? Therefore, utilizing health insurance or sickness insurance shouldn't be the reason why you should seek physical therapy services outside of the medical system. Right? So when you truly, truly care for your health, it's the daily things that you do every day. That is health insurance. So what I'm referring to for health insurance, changing your mindset here, health insurance is what you do every day. Movement, the food choices you make, quality of sleep, stress management, exercising, mobility, stretching. All of these things in a combination make up your quote-unquote health insurance. It's not the premium that you have to pay every month. It's not health insurance that you're looking to utilize to receive physiotherapy services for a bum shoulder or a low back pain niggle that kind of happened when you were performing a deadlift. So, health insurance, when you seek outpatient physical therapy services, shouldn't really be the reason why you should utilize this health insurance, or in this case, sickness insurance, right? Because my example, Fortress Physical Therapy, I'm not affiliated with the medical system, because the whole point of what I'm doing for others and myself is not only trying to change your perspective on what physiotherapy can do for you, but to change your perspective and help promote a healthcare situation, meaning keeping you out of the medical system. So your sickness, quote, air quote, or health insurance doesn't really work for your health when you think about it. So it's funny, like the other day, my mom went in, she received a letter in the mail, and it was from her primary care physician, who's actually a nurse practitioner. Awesome. Love nurse practitioners. Shout out to some of my friends. Excuse me. And that letter that explained the services she received, right? Because when she went and saw her primary care physician, the nurse practitioner is involved with the medical system. Okay? So my mom's on Medicare, right? She's old enough to be on Medicare sickness insurance. So it was funny, she got this letter from that visit that happened like 2 months ago. And 2 months later, she received this breakdown of what the details were upon that visit. So it was termed a well visit. And just the well visit alone, meaning the primary care physician came in, took a subjective history, took my mom's blood pressure, looked in her mouth with the light thing that they have to shine in, checked out her ear canals, they put the otoscope in the ear, listen to the heart sounds, just like the basic stuff, press on the belly, maybe do a breast exam if she had to get it. So a very basic well exam. Using or going through the medical system, right? A well exam. These are things that we can actually do at home on our own. Just that particular portion of my mother's visit was around $450. And my mom was in there for about 30 minutes. And I actually greatly appreciate our nurse practitioner, because she actually talks to you and spends time rather than 8 minutes per patient that she sees. So all of that stuff, basically talking to my mom for 30 minutes while the nurse practitioner was assessing her with all these basic health metric measurements. If my mom was a cash pay patient, non-sickness insurance, but sought out through the medical system for a well exam, would have cost her well over $450. That's wild, right? So if you think of that, right, a well visit within the medical system, and then you think, kind of on the flip side, a well visit through a physical therapy non-medical affiliation or a standalone clinic, like myself, Fortress Physical Therapy, I own my own business. I don't accept health or sickness insurance. The payment discrepancy is astronomical. So I'll throw it out there right now. I only charge $160 a skilled physical therapy session. I'm there for an hour. We chit-chat, we talk about life, we get into what's bothering the patient for that day, we assess, we do some treatment, we back it up with movement. Comparing $160 to over $450 for kind of like a well exam within a medical system, and then a well exam physiotherapy functioning exam, right? There is hands down a very misunderstanding on how the medical system utilizes sickness insurance, I guess. And my mom isn't even sick, right? That's just a well exam within the medical system at one of the major hospital affiliation branches down here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is what it is. So think of this. There's my mom's example of a well exam. What if you're actually sick? What if maybe you develop a very, very severe case of pneumonia and you enter the medical system, you go to the emergency room, get assessed. In fact, you actually have to be admitted into the hospital, be sent up to a room to be monitored over the next couple days, and to be monitored by the nursing staff, the attending physician, probably some physical therapy, probably some respiratory therapy assessments in order to prevent a longer stay in the hospital. Can you imagine? I don't even know what it would even cost per night to like sleep at the hospital or stay overnight and be monitored. It's probably a couple $1,000s. Think of that. That right there is what sickness insurance or health insurance is used for. To take on the risk when a medical illness, sickness, or a disease that has to be managed for the rest of your life. That is when health insurance, sickness insurance is utilized. Not when you seek outside services that it's not affiliated with a hospital or medical system. So changing your mindset that if you understand this concept that I'm hopefully able to draw across, clearing the muddy waters and having, being able to see your feet at the bottom of the Caribbean water, that it's more clear that when you seek physiotherapy services for whatever the case may be, even if it's a post-surgical rehab, maybe you had your rotator cuff repaired in your shoulder and you need physical therapy services. most likely when you had surgery, you met your deductible through your sickness insurance, because the surgery itself probably costs about 40 grand. And all of the other stuff on top of that, the medicine and the physiotherapy examination, perhaps maybe something happened after the rotator cuff repair that you had to stay overnight in the hospital, or you don't have any help at home, therefore you had to stay overnight in the hospital because it's hard for you to get around and you need a caretaker. Your sickness insurance out-of-pocket deductible was probably met. So then you go to outpatient physical therapy or home health. Maybe let's go home health route. That's kind of still in the medical system, right? Home health, the only time that you're not really affiliated with the medical system receiving physical therapy services is at an outpatient physiotherapy clinic, especially ones that are standalone independent clinics like myself. So I'm hoping that these two different scenarios, or at least this major scenario of truly your health insurance doesn't really work for your health. Your health insurance or sickness insurance is there to take on risk when an emergency happens. When you're truly ill or sick or you're managing a lifelong disease, that's when the sickness insurance helps, because things add up. Now, your health. How do you make your health better? Your personal health insurance, this concept, not the card that you receive in the mail that says it's a PPO, HMO, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Blue Local. I'm talking about your health insurance that I mentioned earlier, like 10 minutes ago. Your healthcare daily routine is your health insurance to prevent you from entering the medical system, to prevent you from experiencing sickness, illness, disease. And this also leads into injury, setbacks. Reverting to kind of my 5 pillars, these are the things that we need to focus on every day. Stress management, sleep quality, nutrition, food intake. Are we getting our daily caloric need, yet alone protein to feed our growing muscles and prevent muscle wasting? And then obviously the big one is daily exercise or working out, daily movement. Are you getting your steps in? Are you getting a minimum of 8,000 steps per day? That's about 3 miles of walking. Are you exercising, i.e. heavy resistance training, which then builds muscle, which then leads to you eating more protein to feed the muscles and make them continue to grow? That is your health insurance. Who do you have on your team? Who do you have on your healthcare team to help you stay accountable? Also, another thing just to throw out there, what do you measure? How do you measure these things? How do you measure those 5 pillars, the exercise, movement, food, sleep, stress management, etc.? I'm not sponsored. I am a member of the Fwp band that measures basically my resting heart rate, my sleep patterns, my stress levels, my overall caloric expenditure. What else? Heart rate variability, skin temperature. Very, very, very detailed. And I also have an Apple Watch, not sponsored as well. And, I can take my heart rate as well there. I use the health app on my iPhone. I track things all the way from my menstrual cycle to body temperature, even utilizing my Apple Calendar. If something feels off, like, I've gotten the flu, I've gotten COVID a couple times. So, I'm like tracking that. So there were moments too. I have an at-home blood pressure unit, just an automatic one that got from Amazon, and there were some moments in time where I had to measure my blood pressure. I track it in the Apple iWatch or the Apple Health app. So these health metric baselines, and of course I exercise every day and all that fun stuff and track all my lifts and all that. That is how you care for your health. So getting back to your health care team, who's on your team? Like, yeah, my nurse practitioner's on my team, but I see her once a year. I do get my well exam, and I expect, I'm a cash pay patient, so, I'm okay of saving the $500 up and, paying for my well visit every year. But the other stuff, I'm in charge of. I make sure, since I'm a healthcare provider, I get my flu vaccine every year. Then I have to communicate that with my nurse practitioner to say, hey, I got my flu shot on this date. Can you update it in my chart? Yeah, cool. I'm monitoring my blood pressure. It's been great. Of course, I'm tracking my sleep patterns, my eating patterns. I'm getting my protein. I'm doing all the work because when it comes down to it, I'm my own health insurance. I have sickness insurance. So if I do get sick, I know that I have to hit my deductible. And I have that. I have that saved. I have that saved in my emergency fund dump of money. Because I don't want to enter the medical system. No one should want to enter the medical system, right? But how do we prevent that? Your health insurance isn't going to. The card that you receive in the mail, which is actually your sickness insurance, that's not going to prevent you from entering the medical system when shit hits the fan, when an illness happens, when disease happens, when sickness happens. It's the daily things that you do that add up over time that lengthen you away from the medical system. So I guess my overall concept behind this and behind this title is, why your health insurance doesn't work for your health is that the public, I think, just doesn't really understand, truly what health insurance should be. Number one, the little medical card that you receive in the mail should be termed sickness insurance or catastrophic insurance, right? Versus the actual health care insurance that you do every day based on your habits and routine, how you're tracking your health metrics, how you're feeling every day. Maybe it is a daily diary. I mean, look at this. We just went through a pandemic and we basically became our own healthcare providers because we couldn't really be around people. So you had to take it upon yourself to start changing your habits, to care for your health. Because when you really entered the medical system during those COVID times, oh yeah, that was life or death. And unfortunately, I've lost some friends from back where I grew up in West Virginia from COVID stuff. Because they had predetermined morbidities that they couldn't fight off. So I hope this kind of gives you some perspective that health insurance, your health insurance card, is actually a sickness insurance, which then is there in place to take on risk, to take on an emergency risk when something happens, when you do actually have to be admitted to the hospital or get extra testing done or get MRIs, CT scans because something's just not adding up, versus true health insurance or healthcare insurance on what you can do for yourself every day and have a team of people, physiotherapists, perhaps a very good chiropractor, perhaps a very good registered dietitian, or a nutrition coach. And then you have your actual tending physician or primary care physician that you see once a year, all the way down to, your dentist. That's part of healthcare, right? As well as your optometrist or eye doctor. This team of people that help solidify the circle of your healthcare insurance outside of the medical system. So, why don't physical therapy, a clinic like mine, accept health insurance or sickness insurance? Well, number one, I'm not a part of the medical system. Number two, I'm a part of your healthcare team. That's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose Podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.